RX Pappy is someone whose music I really enjoy listening to. He isn't scared of showing his listeners the pain he's experienced in his life. Take songs like Cousin Tito, Nancy, or I'm Going Home for example. In these songs he manages to bring his listeners into his world and his reality and the struggles he has experienced throughout his life, and he manages to comfort his listeners with the fact that they are not alone. This storytelling and introspective rapping style has gained Pap a lot of attention and listeners, and this accompanied with his insane work ethic has meant he's become someone who is well recognised in underground rap. In this video I thought I'd do my best to tell Pap's story, touching on topics like his early life and his music career. Chester Arthur Roscoe was born May 17th in 1995 in Rochester, New York. Sadly, Pap from a young age had a rough time growing up. At just the age of 4 his father passed away, and having to learn to deal with this at such a young age made things really hard for him. Having this happen at such a young age meant Pap hadn't even come to terms with what death was by this point, and this meant he was left devastated, and he said that it took him until the age of 7 to realise he was never going to see his dad ever again. To make things worse, his mum got with another guy shortly after his dad passed away.
You know how that shit go, I ain't my dad, I ain't trying to hear that. I wanted to do my own thing.
And this meant Pap would end up rebelling, and from early on in his life he would spend a lot of time in the streets, and he had to grow up very fast to provide for his family.
I was young and didn't understand what I was putting my mom through, and the decisions that I wanted to make, I didn't understand the type of effect they had on my household, as far as my mom, my 2 sisters, my little brother. Like I wasn't taking none of that in consideration growing up.
Pap first ever rapped around the time he was 8, but he didn't take it seriously until later in his life.
I think I was like 8, no cap. There used to be this barbershop on Lyles, nigga named Jason. This nigga was fire. So he used to line the nigga up and shit. Yeah, him and his biz, you feel me? They was writing or whatever. I guess they getting ready to go to the booth or whatnot. So they writing this shit, they spit it to the beat. I just on some cocky shit. I just said it to my mom, like, I'm better than them niggas. And she kind of like put a nigga on the spot. She was like, yo, my baby rap. And so the nigga, he, before he even lined, matter of fact, no, the nigga lined me up first. And then he put me on, made me step on something, back the camera out, made me spit a 16. I was like 8 years old. Nigga went crazy. I got my line up for free.
When Pap was around 11, 12 and 13, he used to go out and burgle people's houses and robbed people, and he'd come back to his house and offer his mum the money, but she never accepted it, and this only hurt Pap more, as he was doing these things and going through this stuff to try and help the people around him, and everyone knew that he had a heart of gold deep down. A normal day for Pap when he was a teenager would be either him smoking weed, hitting licks or partying. Pap said before that he was having fun doing all this stuff, and that if he was to go back in time with what he knows now, as he's grown up, he wouldn't change anything or do anything differently, as he believes everything happens for a reason. Around the time Pap was 14, he sadly lost his auntie to cancer as well, who according to him never did no wrong to anybody, and was someone who nobody could say something bad about. Growing up, Pap was surrounded by music. People will be listening to a lot of music from the South, with people listening to artists like Slop, Gucci Mane, Lox, Jay-Z and Jadakiss. But Pap himself will be listening to people like Gucci Mane, OJ the Juice Man and Max B.
Gucci, yeah, that's a big Juice Man. That's a fact for me. Yeah, things like that.
And he has said before that if he could have one mixtape on him at all times, it would be Gucci Sosa by Gucci Mane. Also, when Pap was 17, he started to rebuild his relationship with his mum too.
Around like 17 is when me and my mom started to develop a relationship. By me getting locked up so many times, the only person that's coming to see me is my mom. I look at it like this, like I lost my pops. How would I be if I lost my mom too?
Around the time he was 19, Pap caught a drug case and ended up making bail. And only a week later he got shot in the back and went to the hospital and left only 6 days later. Pap from here had to learn how to walk all on his own and around his neighbourhood. And at this point his court case was the last thing on his mind, and he ended up not going to court and caught a warrant. And eventually he ended up going to jail for 21 months. After he got out and was free, Pap wanted to start hustling again, and only a year later got caught up again for robbery. And when he got out of jail he was on probation, and ended up catching a violation for a new robbery, and got sent back, and after beating the case again and getting released, Pap decided to do something different and change his ways, would start to take rap seriously, and started to give it his all, putting out as much music and videos as he could, and by doing this he had a way of keeping himself off the streets, and from here he started to stay out of the way of the people he'd hung around in the past, and a lot of people when he saw them again would ask him where he'd been, and he told them that he'd be putting his time into working on music. It was also around this time that Pap became friends with Neff, with Neff getting out of prison and Pap coming back in town from Atlanta. When Pap started music, his early rap name would be Lil Fleetgy, because that was his name in the streets and the nickname people used to call him.
I was coming out the store one day. I had some brown robin pants and brown robin jacket. And this nigga that be on the block, he just said that shit, like on some funny shit. I'm like, you fleechy as hell. I'm like, you know what, bitch, you right. You feel me? I am.
Pap released quite a lot of music under this name too, but eventually he changed his name because people knew what he was doing in the streets and were less likely to support him, and because of this he would go by RX Pappy. Pap first realised he could turn music into a full-time career after a music YouTube page with a lot of subscribers uploaded his song Chanel No. 9 on his page, with the song getting 2k views in its first week. At this point, Pap had never seen views come in this fast, and when he saw this number he only felt more motivated and would drop song after song to start to establish a name for himself. From here as well, he decided he'd up his equipment and got his own little studio set up, buying himself a mic, an interface, a laptop and a mic stand, and he would just record over and over again and continue to have them posted by the channel, and eventually his song Circumstances, after being posted, did insane numbers, pulling around 30 to 40k views in its first month. And this was all Pap had to see to realise that he could really do this. When asked about why he raps, Pap has said that he sees it as a way out for him, and that where he's from you're never really given too many chances to get out, and with rapping he understands that he has the ability to change lives with his music. Not only his listeners, but his mum, his brothers and sisters' lives, and his own too.
I ain't telling you, I'm not telling y'all what I seen, I'm telling y'all what I did. I'm telling y'all what I know firsthand. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all what I've been involved in. You know what I'm saying? I don't glorify robbing niggas. I don't glorify taking from people. But when you grow up in certain circumstances and certain situations, force your hand, then you gotta play the cards you was dealt. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody was dealt gold spoons and picket fences. You know what I'm saying? Some niggas was dealt motherfucking sticks and concrete. That's what niggas was dealt. So.
Pap has also spoke on his recording and writing process, and has said that he records all his own music and mixes all his own music. As well as this, he never really writes anything down, and always freestyles, which is pretty crazy to think about when you hear some of the things he says in his songs. And it only makes the things he says seem more from the heart, as they aren't scripted, he's just speaking what's on his mind, and getting it off his chest. Pap has said that sometimes he'd wake up and think about negative things, and it'd ruin his whole day, and the only way he could get out of that headspace was through recording and talking about what he was going through. As time went on, Pap started to grow a following, and when he would go out in the streets, more people would recognise him and show him love. But that's not to say everything was entirely positive, as Pap felt constantly on edge in public, as he now had a name for himself, and since he started rapping he became more cautious with who he'd surround himself with. Pap has also said that in general he tries to stay to himself, and doesn't try to make new friends, and is just cautious about where he is or how long he's there for, and that paranoia can creep in a lot as he knows what could happen and how things could go. However, the thing that Pap fears the most in life is dying broke, as he wants to care for his loved ones and those dependent on him, and he doesn't want to have everything he's done be for nothing. But Pap has definitely made a name for himself by this point, and has a lot of people who highly respect him for his music. It's fair to say Pap has experienced a lot in his life, and he's channeled all of these experiences into his music, and topics relating to Pap's own pain and struggles aren't uncommon in his music. As well as this, Pap does like to joke around a lot in his songs, and has a lot of funny lines too. Pap's got an insane work ethic as well, and has dropped over 150 music videos in the last 2 years. And whilst being consistent, he never has a drop in quality, and he's definitely one of the most consistent artists out. In his career, he's dropped an extensive amount of singles and projects, and his YouTube channel is flooded with tracks. I'd recommend if you've never listened to Pap before to check out 100 Miles and Walking, Cartier Jig 2, or Foreign Exchange. Pap had big aspirations for 2021 and wanted to reach more people with his music and help more and more people, and in November 2021 Pap released his most popular project to date, called Foreign Exchange, which was a collaborative project with Pap and the producer Young Good, who was a member of Sad Boys. After the release of this project, Pap broke through to a lot of new listeners, with more and more people catching on to him and his ability to convey pain and suffering, with songs like 12 Stout Street being pure portrayals of Pap's struggles. Pap had definitely accomplished his goal for 2021 and had a project which had a lot of people speaking about him, but unfortunately sometime soon after this project in late 2021, Pap ended up in jail and is still locked up as of right now. I've seen some people online saying that Pap has a release date of sometime in April 2023, but I'm not entirely sure how true this is. But I know for sure that as soon as he's out, he'll only continue to make an even larger name for himself and reach even more people with his music. And I hope that Pap can stay in good spirits knowing that as soon as he comes out, he's got a lot of people who will support him and his music. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video and that you have a good day.